Right, we're back, still coming to you from the CTICC right here in Cape Town, reporting live on all things entrepreneurship that are taking place right here at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. And right now, joining me is the CEO of CIFA, Mr. Mpolisi Machamba. Welcome to Keith Ngesereja, and thank you so much for making the time to talk to us as we wrap up this two-day event.
Good afternoon, Lungin. Thanks for having me.
It's only a pleasure. So I think to start off, could you just give us an overview of what is the role of CIFA here?
CIFA in full is a small enterprise finance agency, which is a subsidiary of the IDC, but also accountable to the Department of Small Business. In this Global Entrepreneurship Network Week, we are actually participating as a funder of small businesses. And some of our actually businesses that we funded are also showcasing their products here at the center. But also, we also here to share the funding options that SMMEs can access with our partners. I just jumped off now from a symposium where we were talking with the commercial banks, indicating to entrepreneurs the funding options that they can access from our side and also from the commercial banks. Because as a small entity, we only fund up to 15 million. But a number of projects that we do that are in your 30s and 50 million. And for us to do that, we do syndication or partnership with the commercial banks so that we can make those projects happen. So the issue of partnerships is very, very critical for us so that we can stretch our balance sheet even further.
And I think the number of people that we've interviewed over the 2-day period, a lot, the CIFA comes up, CIFA comes up, and it's all about the funding aspect of it. But I would like for you to maybe take a moment to differentiate for us between the two, because they do get used quite often.
Interchangeable. Yeah. Yes, CIDA is a sister agency of ours. Their mandate is doing what we call non-financial support. In the main, we work with CIDA in preparing actually applicants to be what we call funding ready. And CIDA will help them actually with what they've introduced is training the SMMEs before they apply at CIFA for funding on issues of stock management, operations of the business, financial management, and so on and so forth, including marketing and networking so that they can have market access for their products. Once they are funding ready, then CIDA assists them to apply at CIFA. As CIFA, our core focus is providing finance to those SMMEs that are funding ready. And then also, once we've funded them, we provide what is called post-funding support, because once you've funded the SMME, you want to see them succeed so that you are able to actually get back the money to refinance other SMMEs. So CIDA in the main is non-financial support and funding readiness. CIFA is funding the businesses. We are the ones actually who make the dream come true through the funding and also provide after what we call funding support to those SMMEs.
All right, perfect. I think that gives us a much clearer distinction between the two. So now, who does CIFA fund?
We fund everybody, I must say, even though sometimes I know the youth, they like to believe that CIFA is focusing on youth. No, we fund everybody who is South African, regardless of age and gender. But we've got what we call designated groups. Designated groups are women, youth, and people living with disabilities. A certain percentage of our funding goes to those designated groups. We fund businesses from all sectors of the economy. We don't discriminate as long as they are within our funding mandate. We've got businesses that we funded. The one that I like a lot is your microfinance, where we provide funding to the poorest, bottom of the barrel rural women who are involved in agri-processing, agricultural planting, your sewing, your knitting, open air food kitchens, those ones who cook and sell food to employees in offices and whatnot. The biggest chunk of our actual beneficiaries are from that grouping. For example, last year we funded about 76,000 SMMEs nationally. 60,000 of them were from that group of women and rural people. That is our core market, because we focus there really on dealing with providing access to finance, and also poverty alleviation, because those loans that we give to those rural women, we take them out of that bracket of being recipients of grants so that they are self-sufficient and they are able to actually make an input in the economy. And then we've got those now who are bigger, who like a bigger, what we call loans. For example, people who are running service stations, people who are running supermarkets. We founded some people who are running spas. We just concluded a deal and launched in December in State, where the client converted an old, dilapidated warehouse into a spa. And also we opened a fuel center there where they sell petrol and other related products. Butterworth also, we launched one of the anchor projects, the Shell. There's a Shell Ultra City as you enter Butterworth from Mthatha. We funded that Shell Ultra City, I think to the tune of about 32 million in partnership with one of the commercial banks. And the same client actually opened another site in Fort Jackson. It's a Shell Ultra City, and I think there's a KFC there now with your Debonair's steers and your Fisherways. We also funded that what we call a client. We do also fund even the youth. I mentioned products. The youth will know a brand that is popular in South Africa called Galaxy Boy. These fellows, they actually sell clothing online and other related accessories. We started funding those youngsters during COVID when the whole issue of online selling kicked off. We provided them mere 350,000 rands loan to buy stock and resell. The business ballooned. I mean, last year when they came for a second round of funding, they were already making about 8 million rands a month through their sales. Because of that growth, we gave them additional funding, the Galaxy Boy guys, and they've opened now 9 stores: Waterfront, Cape Town, Mall of the North in Limpopo, Mall of Africa in Joburg, Mainland Mall in Joburg, Sentin Mall in Joburg, and they're going to be opening another shop in Port Elizabeth. We're the first on the 10 million rands for the same guys. So there's no deal that is what we call too small for us. We actually, across the sector, consider ourselves as the first risk. If you talk about the Shell Ultra City that we funded in Butterworth, for example, we opened a garage there, which with the steers, quick service restaurant. I think there's a Debonair's in that same site, and a Spa Express. That Spa Express site or center in that area of Butterworth. So we position ourselves as those the first what we call risk takers in many of our projects, and we'll be making a lot of noise actually about these success stories. The other challenge that we have, I must say, is accessibility, because our office, for example, in the Eastern Cape is in East London. If you go to KZN, it is in Durban. A person sitting in Lusikisiki, it gets difficult to access, particularly if they are not literate with using online application. Yeah. We've now launched 2 buses. We call them Office on Wheels. These buses are going to be used. They are equipped with all the technology. They are going to all these far-flung areas in the rural areas once or twice a month, so that people can go there and actually put application funding and also ask for support in other related areas. So we will be much more visible now through this Office on Wheels that we've launched what we call early this year. So yeah, we found a variety of entrepreneurs. We are going to be moving aggressively with there, but now we're just going to be much more aggressive in the agri space, where we are going to partner with the likes of your Tiger Brands, the likes of Pioneer Foods, where they want to buy grain, mainly your maize and beans, from these small farmers. And we're saying we're going to use what we call aggregation model, because, for example, Pioneer says they want to buy maize in and around Maclear areas, but these farmers are scattered all over the shore. So they don't have the capacity to go around collecting the grains. So what you need somebody who's going to aggregate, have a silo, they collect them, what called the grains from different farmers. The truck of what we call a Pioneer Foods comes from the silos, they pick up the grains and off they go. But the beauty about that thing is that one, the aggregator provides technical support to the growers, and Pioneer and others, they come and provide market access through the offtake agreements. Now that actually brings about sustainability for those small farmers, because the approach of co-ops, it doesn't become sustainable in the absence of one, technical support, two, market access and offtake agreements. Aggregation then addresses that problem. It's one of the products that we're going to be launching soon, and the latest one that I'm quite excited about is a crowdfunding product. We're going to be partnering there, even with overseas partners, people who are willing to put their money into the crowdfund. That's if we'll put, say, 100 million or 200 million into the kitty, and then we invite these private sector funders to put in money. But once you deal with private sector funds, you need to apply those funds on a commercial basis. Therefore, what we need to do is to partner with a private sector fund manager who's going to manage those funds on a commercial basis, so that the investors don't lose money in that. So we're becoming aggressive this year with those new products to make an impact, particularly in township and rural areas. Thank you.
Those are a lot of opportunities, and you are definitely finding ways to be more accessible to people who wouldn't necessarily be able to easily access you. But now there is this thing you said, you're funding, you fund like wide, far and wide. But I know that there are certain things, there are nitty-gritty things. If you could just mention a few things, some qualities that people need to keep in mind when saying, I would like to access funding from here. As much as you can say we fund everybody or you can all apply, there are certain things that I think we all need to be aware of before applying for something. Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yes. Look, even though we fund everybody, there is a certain criteria that you need to meet. I spoke earlier on about funding readiness, where SEDA, our sister agency, comes in to assist the applicants with what we call deal packaging, and even training on how to run a business, so that once you find a person who has never handled even 100,000, now they're applying for 20 million. That person does need support to be able to manage that business successfully. So the issue of funding readiness becomes very, very critical. Getting, number two, your house in order. We're using taxpayers' money. You can't be on the red with SARS and yet you want to access taxpayers' money. So you need to make sure that your tax affairs are in order, so that you don't get rejected because you owe the state money through SARS. And then the other issue is credit bureau. You need to pay those little accounts of your Edgars and the Wax. You need to make sure that you pay those accounts, because if you owe 500 rands, one of the retail stores, and you don't pay that, what gives me the comfort that if I give you 5 million, you'll pay back? We call it character risk. You need to make sure that you address issues that are related to character risk by making sure that all your accounts are up to date. Number two, limit the number of accounts that you have, because the more credit accounts that you have, the lower is your credit score. Because when you do the credit scoring for you, we assess that how much credit have you taken and are you servicing that debt. So have as few accounts as possible so that your credit score is higher. And also, it helps, man, if you are new in the business, to find strategic partners, people who have walked the journey, to mentor you and assist you to know what are the do's and don'ts of a particular sector before you move into that sector. Because some things, you may see some people, for example, moving into a particular sector, you think it's going to be easy. For example, I'll give you the logistics space. We find a lot of companies, particularly from the youth space. These trucking companies, they will transport coal from the mines to Eskom. You come, say, I'm going to need 5 trucks, for example, plus or minus 14 million, including the trailers. And you expect that the mine will give you 5 or 10 tons a week to transport to Eskom. And then our numbers are based on 10 tons. The next thing, you go there, there's a queue at the Eskom power station to offload the coal. Your truck gets actually stuck there for a whole day. Instead of doing 5 trips that day, you've done 1. Already, you are sitting actually at minus 90% of your target. you are not going to be able to pay us next month. So those are some of the do's and don'ts that you need to know. And each and every sector has got its own dynamics. I can give you examples. One other person who funded was in the poultry farming space. Gave him the money, doing well. Fatal mistake he made. He allowed a buggy to come and pick up chickens in his farm. This buggy first went to one farm to pick up chickens. Then he came to his farm. It picked up bird flu from that farm, killed all 15,000 of those chickens. So those are some of the basic nuances that are sector specific. You need to research and understand the sector before you pen your fingers. And working with those who have walked the journey is very, very important. But the critical thing, keep your credit record clean. Have as few credit accounts as possible and make sure that you pay us.
Very important.
Yes.
And very clear as well. Very I think it's rare that you get such practical examples of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I think this is really valuable information.
Sure.
Thank you very much for that. But just before we wrap it up, I just want to get just your sense of over the 2 days, your experience of what it's been like for you. You've seen a lot, you've engaged a lot with people. Just a quick overview of how your experience has been over the past 2 days.
Look, we even though we've been in this field for the longest of time, we learn every day. We've got people here from Europe, the US, the broader continent, Nigeria, your Kenya, the works. And I learned a lot with the experiences of those countries. For example, there's this emerging sector now of fintech. And the countries like China, well, not China, but Kenya, let me repeat it, not China, have moved miles actually in the implementation of fintech. And for us who are actually driving access to finance and financial inclusion, fintech is actually the way to go, because a person now does not have to drive from Lusiki to Amtata to access funding. You can use technology to apply and upload the information in the comfort of your own home. So one of the issues that actually we're going to be aggressively driving is the use of fintech to provide access to finance, even to those very rural people, because those women that we fund in the microfinance space, to spend 50 rands going to town, that's a lot of money for them. If you're to able, because an average South African does have a cell phone, if you're to be able to assist them to provide information and access to finance through the use of technology like the cell phones, that's where we want to go, so that those people don't have to worry about what to call having to catch a taxi to go and get money. And they can do it in the comfort of their own home. So I've picked up a lot of lessons of the use of fintech, and also even agri-tech, because there's a new, not so new in some countries, use of technology now in the agricultural space, where I spoke earlier on about the off-take agreements from the major manufacturers. You can use technology now to load the pictures of if it's potatoes, so that the buyer can see that now these potatoes are at this stage of growth. I should expect them in the next week or two. And that communication between the buyer and the farmer, so that the buyer can know that in month number 2, I'll be getting 20 tons of potatoes from farmer number 3. And I can see that they are growing at this level, and you keep on updating what you call your development of your plants with the off-taker from the other side. So technology now is just going to be everywhere. And even in agriculture, there's going to be use of that. And to me, I learned a lot from that. And also potential partnerships. I met some guy from Canada here who says they've got funders that want to provide funding SMMEs, but they don't know the market, and they're looking for partners like ourselves to actually invest that money into that partnership, so that we can stretch what we call the balance sheet. And I said, this is exactly what we're looking for our crowdfunding that we're going to be launching. Those guys must come and bring in the money here. We actually have this crowdfunding partnership with private sector. You bring in those monies, and then we're able actually to make sure that the little that we have as CIFA, we can stretch it through these partnerships and provide more funding. Because there's a shortage of about 220 billion in funding for SMEs in the economy, and the state doesn't have money. So you need now these private sector partnerships to ensure that you stretch the balance sheet to that level. So to me, there's a lot actually that one picks up in the forum.
Those are really great highlights. Thank you very, very
Thank you,
much.
man.
Thank you again for making the time to chat
Sure.
to us as we wrap up
Sure.
on day two.
Thank
That
you.
is CEO of CFO, Mr. Mkolisi Machamba. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you and your listeners and viewers, ma'am. Thank you. All right.